Hey guys, it's Frozenballz here, and this is yet another episode of the Minmaxer's Playground. Before I delve into the video, holy shit is all I can say. Thank you very much for the love on the Limbo video. I really do appreciate it, and I'm actually happy that people are actually enjoying that video and, finding the information informative. I've been playing Warframe for a long time, and even though I have been playing for so long, I'm still learning new stuff all the time, so being able to share this information with you guys, is just one of those things which I enjoy doing, which is why, I became a content creator to begin with. Now, for the last video, we talked about something fairly complex, explaining it down fairly simply, but for the next couple of videos, I'm just going to cover some straightforward frames because at some point I will have to cover them anyway. For this particular video, we're going to be talking about Loki. Compared to some of the other frames, Loki is a slightly more advanced frame for the simple reason that it hasn't got much survivability, but it brings a lot of CC to the table, which is why Loki is considered one of the kings of CC. Loki used to be one of the starter frames, but he got changed up. And to be honest, I think that's a fair reason. The other frames are built around being completely balanced in terms of damage, CC, and survivability, whereas Loki is a specialized CC monster. He's a little bit more complex to play compared to the other starter frames, so in that sense, it doesn't really make sense to have him as a starter frame, but it's something which people can get or strive to work towards once they get to that stage. Having said that, Loki's capabilities are immense, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can min-max the fuck out of your Loki and enjoy using him. Now, when it comes to Loki, there are a few main builds which he has. I'm sure most people already know these builds, but for the sake of this particular series, I will talk about them anyway. The first build is the Loki disarm build. This build revolves around the idea of using radial disarm with the augment to disarm enemies and crowd control them. The radial disarm augment basically applies a radiation proc which confuses enemies and causes them to attack each other instead of you. On top of that, they also lose their weapons, so they only have melee weapons only. Using radial disarm against infested rips off the arms and limbs of light infested units. Versus ancients, it applies the radiation proc to them and it prevents from healing each other or buffing each other with the aura of bullshit that we've all come to hate. It removes Moa's attack weapons as well and gives them a prod, so even against infested, it's still a useful ability to use. So this is like a better chaos. To maximize this build out, you basically go for maximum range and a decent amount of duration so the radiation proc stays for a while so they're attacking each other as opposed to attacking you or the objective. In terms of this particular build, you go with stretch, overextended, and cunning drift for maximum range. You also use the Loki arcane swindle helmet which gives you even further range, which makes the total range to 53 meters on disarm. Bear in mind, you will actually have to buy the arcane swindle helmet from players, so depending on who's selling it, it might go for a lot of platinum if you want to make that investment. Personally, I think the arcane swindle and the arcane essence helmet are worth the investments. You use natural talent to speed up your animations for disarm, and you use speed drift as well to increase that even further. Streamline and prime flow gives you a bigger energy pool as well as efficiency for casting disarm, and quick thinking is your oh shit survivability button because Loki is pretty paper thin. Irradiating disarm is the augment which you need, obviously for this to work properly. This build is used mostly against enemies with weapons, it's used for defenses, survivals, it's even used for raids, and it's very efficient at locking down entire enemies with guns and making them come into melee range. The only other adjustment I would say is, since decoy works to activate pads in raids, you can actually switch out speed drift for prime continuity, and then that way you can actually have longer lasting decoys for your pads. This is basically a sneaky little trick where you don't actually have to worry about using people to stand on pads, you can just cast your decoy. Again, aura is dependent entirely on the type of enemies you fight, but corrosive projection is the aura which I tend to go with, and arcane energize is the arcane of my choice. The second build is the build which most people already know about. It is the Loki build for running spy missions. This build revolves around running a high duration for the simple reason that you want to stay invisible and rush through the objective without having to worry about, being detected or without having to worry about killing enemies. Since spy missions are best done with, a stealth multiplier and unalerted enemies, a high duration ensures that. Hushed invisibility is the augment of choice for this particular build for the simple reason that hushed invisibility makes all of your weapons silent. You could use a rocket launcher, you could use a bow, you could use a machine gun, it doesn't matter, everything will be silent. Narrow-minded and continuity ensure you have a long duration for your invisibility. Streamline, prime flow, and quick thinking is your efficiency, power pool, and survivability mods. Rush is the mod which you use in your Excellence slot for moving faster through terrain. Natural talent means faster animations, and the reason why we use overextended here is for the simple reason that Loki does not need any power strength. Overextended gives even further range, which means you can use your decoy to switch teleport through entire spy vaults without actually having to even try to work on them. You can literally put a decoy down, teleport to it, boom, done. Aura is dependent on what type of mission you're running, but corrosive projection again is the default one, which I will always tend to go back towards. It's just one of those things. Arcane Energize is the arcane which I would again recommend to use, and the Loki Essence Helmet would be perfect here for the simple reason that it adds extra efficiency. Since this entire series is built around min-maxing, you take whatever you can get. The last build is a bit of a mutation of the spy build, in the sense that it relies on high duration. It's not built around running spy missions, it's built around doing melee damage and taking advantage of Loki's surprise damage multiplier when you're invisible. Since Loki spends most of his time in invisibility, the build focuses on high duration and about a decent amount of efficiency as well at the same time. The thing about Loki is one of the easiest frames to mod for, so you don't have to worry about power strength, so you either go for range or duration or efficiency and, mix and match accordingly. In this particular build, we focus on duration with the combination of narrow-minded, constitution and prime continuity. On top of that, we also have streamline for a bit of efficiency. Now, what this allows me to do is have a maximum amount of duration and some efficiency for being invisible, and basically opens up 4 slots for me plus the Exilus slot to mod how I like to. This is a personal preference thing, so I like to be able to move fast and traverse through the environment very, very quickly. And for that particular reason, I use a combination of Rush, Maglev, and Ice Spring. This ensures you can run fast and use Bullet Jump to move very, very quickly, and Maglev allows you to maintain your momentum as well. The last slot usually goes for Hushed Invisibility because, being able to have silent weapons. If you ever do want to do like a spy run or something like that with this, or, you want to just get the stealth multiplier, you can maintain that with Hushed Invisibility. For the Exilus mod, I tend to switch it out with either Speed Drift or Enemy Sense, depending on what type of enemy I'm fighting. For the Aura slot, this is the only time where I will make a change from Corrosive Projection. If I'm fighting Grineer, I will always go with Corrosive Projection, but if I'm just doing standard missions where I'm not fighting level 500 enemies or anything like that, I can actually switch up Corrosive Projection for Steel Charge. With the polarities that I use, it is enough that you can actually fit in Steel Charge as well and still be able to use all your expensive mods as you would like to do so. Remember, Loki gets a 4x surprise multiplier when you hit enemies while you're invisible, so take full advantage of that particular aspect of this build. Again, use the Arcane Essence Helmet for more efficiency and Arcane Energize for power regen. In addition to being a melee-focused build, you can potentially replace one of those interchangeable mods with the Switch Teleport Augment. When you have 2 Loki players with the melee-focused build with the Switch Teleport Augment, you can basically give each other God Mode, which allows you to go into content even for a longer period of time, preventing you from dying. All in all, despite being a very straightforward frame to mod for and very simple frame to mod for, Loki's capabilities are unprecedented and unchallenged. He is the king of CC that can just stun lock entire groups of enemies, and as we've come to learn, Warframe is a type of game where the more CC you have, the more likely you are to succeed in whatever mission type you're trying to do, whether it's an endurance run or a normal game itself. And that's it for this particular video as well. Thank you very much for watching, guys. It's been Frozenballz once again with another episode of Minmaxer's Playground. If you like what you saw, make sure you leave a like, a comment, a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.